If you are reading this, chances are I managed to slip it into your personnel file, or, luckier still, you found it tucked away in a dusty locker in the maintenance section of Level 7, just below the Grand Carousel track. Either way, listen to me. I am Kaelen. Not the cheerful, collaborative Kaelen that HR tried to sell you on, but Kaelen, Tier 3 Operations Floor Manager, stuck in this time decay sinkhole for 7 years, 11 months, and currently holding on with 72 hours, 14 minutes, and 39 seconds left on my so-called contract. Don't laugh. This precision is the difference between survival, in the most literal sense of the word, and dissolving into aimless dust. You need to understand, I don't care about you. I am cynical, paranoid, and I would betray anyone, including you, to ensure I am not held here 1 second longer. I am writing this journal not out of kindness, but out of an outburst of whatever has kept me sane for nearly 8 years. Consider this your top secret survival guide. First, abandon any illusions you have about this place. The Chronosium is not an amusement park. It is not a museum. It is a metaphysical entity, a cosmic digestive system fed by repetition and oblivion. Its purpose is to corrode your perception of elapsed time, making you believe that every shift is merely a continuation of the last, with no breaks, no definitive end. Look at your paycheck. The starting salary seems absurd, doesn't it? Suspiciously high for a floor manager position. It is the bait. It is economic anesthesia. They pay you too much to ever ask the critical question, how long have I actually been here? Money in the Chronosium does not buy freedom. It buys blind acceptance of your imprisonment. This is the brutal truth you will face. Most of the staff trapped here, the ones smiling and greeting you with false enthusiasm, have been held for decades. Yet, they believe they have only worked a few weeks, perhaps a month and a half. They exist in a perpetual state of temporal drift, where their memories of the outside world have been flattened beyond recognition. You may have heard colleagues say things like, "Oh, it was just Wednesday, wasn't it? Seems like I started yesterday." Or, "I'm saving up for vacation. Should be able to go right after a few more shifts." They have been saying those things for 5 years, but their brains have been calibrated by the Chronosium to believe in the eternal freshness of the work shift. I am the anomaly, the glitch. I have fought this reality erosion with pure spite and relentless focus. Every night, after everyone has cleared the logistics area, I score a mark into the cold brick wall in the corner of the forgotten operations floor break room. That wall now looks like a chronicle written in madness. I have counted 2,887 shifts. I know exactly how many times my birthday has passed. I have held onto the tether of the outside world, however fragile it may be. This is my only victory, and I will not allow it to be stolen. Remember this, your primary enemy is not faulty track lines or mechanical malfunctions. Your primary enemy is oblivion. You will feel the pull. You will start to see minute details of the park repeat perfectly. The same crack in the marble floor, the same jingle playing from the speakers, the same customer complaint. These loops are snares. They are designed to numb your will, making you comfortable in the repetition. If you stop keeping track, if you stop counting, the Chronosium will digest you. You will become just another manager with dead eyes, waiting for a day off that never comes. How do I maintain sanity? By embracing my paranoia. I do not trust anything I see, hear, or feel unless it is corroborated by my personal digital clock, specially shielded against Chronosium field interference, and my written log. Even when your clock seems to be running normally, time inside the park is being stretched. Shifts are longer, breaks are shorter, and weeks you feel you've just completed may have lasted months. You will soon be sent down into the Labyrinth of Hours. This is where the real shift takes place. They say it is for repairing mechanical components. The truth is, it is a buried network of logistics corridors where the rules of time no longer apply. That is where you will begin to lose yourself. I cannot protect you down there. I don't want to, but I can equip you with the rules. These are not professional guidelines. They are ontological protocols. They are what kept me from dissolving into a meaningless echo for 7 excruciating years. Heed this final word from this initial briefing. I am the one with a contract ending, and I will not stay. I cannot be held. If you screw up and the Chronosium tries to use you as a replacement anchor to keep me, I will watch you spiral without batting an eye. My survival is the absolute priority. Read the next part immediately. You don't have much time. My 72 hours are running out. And your shift has just begun. You have been warned. Now it is time to delve into the rules for anchoring yourself within the park. The Labyrinth of Hours is a network of tunnels and machine rooms, deep beneath the operations floor, threading through the metaphysical structure of the Chronosium. The light down there is perpetually amber, dusty, and the air feels heavier, more compressed. This is where you will spend 90% of your working time. They will tell you the labyrinth needs maintenance because the machinery is old. A lie. The labyrinth is where subsidiary timelines intertwine. When you hear the whistle of a 19th-century steam train slide past a corridor corner while you are trying to adjust a 22nd-century mechanical valve, that is not a malfunction. That is proof of tearing reality. In the labyrinth, time is liquid, not linear. You can step into a room and spend 2 hours fixing a device, then step out and find only 5 minutes have passed on the floor above. Or the reverse. You spend 1 minute checking a switch and find your entire team has finished their shift and clocked out. And here is Rule 1, the inviolable, absolutely critical rule for survival. Rule 1. Always wear your chrono tag. That plastic ID badge you wear is not merely an employee identification card. It is the chrono tag. Inside it contains a precisely calibrated microprocessor designed to lock you onto the Chronosium's present timeline, the one we are struggling to exist within. The chrono tag is your personal reality anchor. It constantly emits a faint, low-frequency signal that keeps your mind from drifting along the corrupted flow of time. You must check it hourly. You must ensure its lanyard is tight. It must be in contact with your skin as much as possible. The consequences of losing the chrono tag are irrecoverable disaster. If the tag is lost, taken off, or stops functioning due to water or mechanical damage, always carry a backup. If you can steal one from the depot, you will immediately become an echo. What is an echo? It is a version of yourself stuck in a short temporal loop, perhaps just 5 seconds long. You will continue to execute the motions you were performing when the tag was lost, reaching for a tool, turning a corridor corner, muttering a complaint. But you will never reach your destination. You will perpetually repeat those actions, without purpose, without awareness, forever trapped in the dusty corridor of the labyrinth. I have seen the best managers become echoes. There was a woman named Sandra, highly intelligent. She worked here about 10 years, but she thought it was only 3 weeks. One night, she lost her tag near the great clock's central spindle. Right now, if you go down there, you will still see Sandra's faint silhouette, eternally reaching for a wrench, always pulling her hand back, ceaselessly, endlessly. No sound, no consciousness, just the perpetual replay of a tiny moment. This is why we rarely look directly into the dark places in the labyrinth. The echoes are the residue of those who lost. They cannot hurt you, but they are a horrific reminder of what happens when you disconnect. Never stop to stare at them, just glide past. Keep them in your peripheral vision. You now know the truth. Your chrono tag is more important than any tool, any safety regulation, even more important than yourself. Wear it. Guard it. Treat it as your only lifeline. The Chronosium never truly closes. They advertise that as a convenience for customers. But at night, from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., when the cleaning and maintenance staff appear, the remaining customers are not human. They are the auditors. The auditors do not come to ride roller coasters or eat popcorn. They come to inspect and erode the fabric of our reality. And more importantly for you, they come to audit the staff. Auditors feed on attention and memory. They want to see if you are drifting, if you are forgetting your purpose. A distracted employee is a feast for them. How to recognize auditors. 1. Counterclockwise motion. Auditors always move counterclockwise. If you see a shape gliding rapidly down a corridor, opposite to the direction the hands move on the central clock tower, it is an auditor. Steer clear immediately. 2. No shadow. Even under the brightest maintenance lights, auditors cast no shadows. They are temporal gaps in the illumination. 3. Temporal halt. Their presence causes the clock to stop ticking for a brief moment. A momentary head twitch, an unusual silence in the gears. That is your cue to prepare the bribery ritual. Surviving the night shift requires strict adherence to the following bribery rituals. You cannot fight them. You must compromise. Rule 2. Always carry chronofragments for offering. Auditors do not want candy or coins. They do not want things of value in our world. They want fragments of time, objects that have been temporarily corrupted or damaged in reality. Your offering must be a cracked brass cog. Find them in the Labyrinth scrap zone. It must be brass, and it must have at least one fracture or chip, evidence that it has temporarily malfunctioned. Carry at least 3 in your tool bag at night. If you encounter an auditor, toss the cog away from you, at least 3 meters, and immediately turn your back, continuing your work without looking back. This action says to the auditor, I am not the broken time. This is my temporal discard. Take this and let me work. Rule 3. Anchor your mind with physical pain when gripped. This is the most horrific one, and it only happens in the deep labyrinth. Sometimes, when you are alone in the maelstrom, you will feel an invisible force grab your wrist or clutch the back of your shirt, trying to drag you out of the corridor and into some reality fissure. We call them non-time tunnels. This is not an auditor. This is a lesser entity, something left over from old temporal experiments. It wants to pull you into a permanent, unrecoverable loop. If this happens, do not resist. Do not plead. Do not scream. Instead, you must perform the anchor ritual. You must close your eyes, absolutely do not look at where you are gripped, and smash your head into the nearest sturdy wall 3 times. The sharp, immediate physical pain will temporarily anchor your mind to tangible reality and repel the entity. It will give you a terrible, potentially bleeding headache, but it is real pain happening now, and it defeats the invisible, non-time nature of the entity. Once it realizes you have anchored yourself, it will release you. Wipe the blood and continue your work. And be grateful. You just won a small battle. Now we turn to the merry creatures of the Chronosium, the mascots. You will see Clockwork Charlie, Gearsy the Mouse, and occasionally, Professor Paradox. They are the faces of the park, and they are the most terrifying things of all. Rule 4. Never look the mascots in the eye. I repeat, never, under any circumstance, look them directly in the eye. They are not employees in costumes. They are what remains of the original 5. The first 5 maintenance workers who were melted into their mechanical suits during a horrific synchronization incident that occurred just after the Chronosium opened. That accident turned them into archivists of time. They are the keepers of the park's history. Their job is to move through the park, silently collecting fragments of memory that have fallen from staff minds like dust. Their eternally grinning metal faces are a trap. If you look them in the eyes, they won't attack you immediately. Instead, they will begin the erasure process. They will start making you forget your most important memory. Usually, it's your own name, or the face of a loved one, or the 7 excruciating years I fought to remember. If a mascot moves toward you, look down at the floor or at your chronotag anchor. Offer a polite but brief greeting and leave at a steady pace. The dark origin of Chronosium. The park was not built. It was locked down onto our reality. The Chronosium exists on a corrupted timeline. The Chronosium itself is an amorphous entity, constantly trying to drift into other eras, which is why you sometimes see tools or architecture that doesn't belong to this century. To maintain stability, the original architects sacrificed themselves in an event we call the anchoring incident. That act of sacrifice locked the park into its current reality, preventing it from becoming a Roman version or a post-apocalyptic ruin. But that sacrifice must be sustained. Rule 5. The Midnight Tribute Ritual. To maintain the anchor, every night at precisely midnight, an antique brass pendulum, not food. It's a small temporal device, shaped like a miniature clock pendulum, always available in a red-marked container beneath the reception desk, must be offered. If you are near the central clock tower at the stroke of midnight, you will hear a deep moan, almost a sigh. That is the structure demanding. The job of the senior maintenance staff is to place this brass pendulum into a small slot near the base of the tower. If this ritual is skipped or performed incorrectly, the Chronosium will begin to drift. We have seen minor shifts, the language on signs turning to Latin for 30 minutes, or the modern clockwork statues transforming into Greek busts. If it drifts too far, everyone becomes an immediate echo, and the park is fully consumed. If you are assigned this duty, it may be a test mission for new staff. Make sure you have placed the item in the slot before the clock strikes 1 second. Otherwise, you will be locked into the tower until dawn, and you will encounter things worse than auditors there. We come now to the final rule, the one that explains why I have endured this for 7 years. and why you must do the same until your term is complete. Rule 6. Never attempt to violate the temporal covenant and quit before your term ends. The Chronosium contract you signed is not merely a legal document. It is a temporal covenant, signed with your very time and life. This contract serves as a kind of reality anchor for the park, but it anchors you specifically. The park accepts your bondage as a commitment to reality. Those who attempt to resign early, those who simply walk off the job or mail a letter of resignation, are not just penalized for breach of contract, they are reality punished. They do not simply have an accident on the way home. They are converted into greater echoes. You will see them. They still appear in the park, working as normal. They still wear their chrono tags, though they no longer function. They still move tools, flip switches, clean areas. But they are ghosts of time, permanently stuck in a shift that never concludes. They differ from the echoes in the labyrinth. They complete tasks. But they no longer recognize themselves, you, or anyone else. They are a perpetual shift, imprisoned within the loop of their own duties. They are the most horrifying warning. You cannot die, and you cannot leave. You can only become an immortal, tormented part of the Chronosium. I know these things because I watched my own manager try it. He thought he could outsmart the Chronosium by faking sickness. A week later, I saw him standing in the lobby, constantly rearranging the brochures without ever changing their order. He has been there for 4 years now. I have waited 7 grueling years. I have kept the tally. I have endured the repetition. I have bribed the entities. I have avoided the mechanical smiles. I have 72 hours left. When the clock strikes midnight on the day my contract ends, I will disappear. I don't know where I will go, but I will be gone. I will not look back. I will not wait for you. This survival log is yours now. You are the only other person who possesses it. Hide it. Obey every rule. Do not let the Chronosium swallow you. And when you see me for the last time over the next 72 hours, pretend nothing has passed between us. Good luck. You will need it. The air in the Labyrinth of Hours tastes like burnt ozone and old copper. Forget the manufactured cheer of Chronosium's surface level. Down here, beneath the rattling floorboards of the supposed happiest place on Earth, we are janitors of the cosmic clockwork. The real currency isn't dollars, it's continuity. My boots scraped on the black, rusted metal grating of Tunnel B-17, the dampness clinging to the back of my throat, reminding me that the park above, however brightly lit, was just a thin, brittle veneer stretched over a bottomless temporal rot. The brass disc hanging from my collarbone, the chrono tag, vibrated softly against my sternum, a persistent, low hum that was less sound and more a state of being. It was the only thing stopping my mind from peeling away from this particular now. I pressed forward, ignoring the faint, sweet scent of melting vanilla that had abruptly replaced the metallic musk of the piping around me. That was the first sign. Temporal drift, the subtle slippage that occurs when the reality of the labyrinth decides to flex its muscles. I checked the wrench in my hand. One moment, it felt appropriately heavy, solid in its function. The next, it felt weightless, like cheap aluminum, useless against the rusted pipe fittings ahead. The worst part was the space itself. When I dared to glance back over my shoulder, the corridor I had just traversed appeared noticeably brighter, the pipes newer, the wiring neatly bundled. I forced my eyes ahead. The maelstrom wanted me to pause, to question, to reconcile the impossible shifts. To stop is to lose the anchor. To lose the anchor is to become noise. They call them echoes, and they are the eternal proof of why Rule 1 is non-negotiable. They are former colleagues, the unlucky, the forgetful, the ones who had their brass lifelines snatched away, if only for a second. I rounded a tight corner and saw him. Marcus. He was a good mechanic, once, known for his precision with pressure valves. Now he's just a feedback loop. He moved with a stiff, jerky gait, traversing 20 measured steps toward the blank, copper wall ahead, his hand gripping a rusted pipe wrench. He paused there, briefly examined his tool as if confirming its uselessness, then pivoted sharply and took 20 steps back the way he came. He was searching for the leaky valve he was assigned to fix the night he lost his tag. He has been searching for it for what may be seconds or decades, in the dust and the dark. I flattened myself against the opposing wall, holding my breath, careful not to let the edge of my utility belt brush against his looping path. You do not touch them. You do not speak to them. They are not ghosts. They are simply the current version of existence that was instantly discarded when their minds broke from the timeline. I kept my gaze fixed on his perpetually focused face, the eyes wide and unseeing, then moved quickly past the invisible boundaries of his 7-second cycle. Further down the hall, near the locked filing cabinets of the former record substation, I heard a softer repetition. A woman, a night shift manager who failed to secure her tag. Zip, unclasp, step back. 7 seconds of reaching for a file that isn't there, adjusting the collar of her jacket 1 inch downward, and resetting. They are not terrifying because they are dangerous. They are terrifying because they are permanent reminders of the fragility of me. The low, constant thrum from my chronotag was suddenly the loudest sound in the universe. I reached down, my knuckles white, and pressed my fingers against the cool metal, just to confirm the vibration. When the panic threatened to rise, the cold, existential fear that this was all meaningless and I should just stop walking, I raised my fist and brought it down hard, rapping the heavy brass 3 times. The mild, painful shock instantly reinforced the connection, the hum briefly surging into a powerful drone. It's an uncomfortable, almost painful, necessity, the insistence of the Chronosium reality fighting the oblivion below. The discomfort, I reminded myself, is the only thing keeping the past and the future from swallowing the present whole. I kept my head down, adjusted the wires securing the tag to my collar, and hurried deeper into the dark, where the rules of the night shift awaited. Welcome, recruit. Listen closely. I am Kaelen, Operations Floor Manager, trapped in this Chronosium for 7 years, 9 months, and 23 days. I have 72 hours left before my exit, and you are the unlucky soul I've been assigned to dump this appalling catalog of survival knowledge onto. Chronosium is not a theme park. It's a reality processing plant, fed by the repetition, the boredom, and the eventual oblivion of its staff. Look at your pay stub. It's absurd, isn't it? That wage isn't compensation for the work. It's a subsidy to purchase your sanity. It buys your compliance, convincing you that this confinement is normal. Most staff here believe they've only been on the clock for a few weeks. They say this even if they were here before the operations floor was painted. I am one of the rare ones who keeps the ledger. The exact memory of elapsed time is my own small, brutal, paranoid victory. I survived. I will pass it all on. Do not ask why. Just follow. I have survived too long to jeopardize my freedom by caring about your safety. Consider this the survival log. Do not lose it. Do not speak of it to anyone. Let us begin. You will spend the majority of your shifts in the Labyrinth of Hours. This is the subpark network of steel and concrete logistical tunnels where every faulty mechanism needs repair. Down here, the laws of physics generally hold, but the laws of time do not. Time is bent here like a heavily strained cable. You might spend 3 hours in the labyrinth, only to return above ground and find that only 15 minutes have passed, or vice versa. This is where you must strictly adhere to Rule 1. Never remove the chronotag. That stupid plastic ID badge they issued you is more than identification. It is the single physical device anchoring you to the park's current timeline. It emits a constant, inaudible frequency that confirms that you, this version of you, are here, now. If you lose the chronotag, or worse, deliberately remove it while in the labyrinth, you instantly become an echo. What is an echo? It is you, but trapped in a minute, meaningless temporal loop. You won't realize it immediately. You will continue walking down the corridor toward your appointed destination, but you will never arrive. You will take 3 wrong steps, turn around, and take those same wrong steps again. You will constantly repeat purposeless actions, reaching for a tool that isn't there, wiping a stain that dried long ago, or muttering a complaint you've looped hundreds of times. You are not dead, but you are no longer alive in any practical sense. You are just a faint, blurred persistence of your former presence. I have seen the best managers vanish this way. They are now just shadows in the periphery, a flicker of an event that never concludes. Check your tag 3 times an hour. If you feel it loosen, strap it tighter. If it breaks, do not report it. Find a replacement from the forgotten personnel storage locker. I have marked its location on the auxiliary map. If I need to reiterate, Rule 1 is the basis for your continued existence as a person, and not an infinitely repeating film reel. If the day shift is about fighting your own oblivion, The night shift is about fighting those who wish to help you forget. Chronosium, as you may suspect, never truly closes. But the night visitors are not tourists. They are the auditors. Auditors are not ghosts, nor are they animals. They are mathematical entities, the metaphysical tax collectors of the temporal flow. Chronosium is a dirty, crude machine, and occasionally, people like me retain too much memory. They come to reconcile superfluous events, cognitive errors, and any staff member demonstrating noteworthy alertness or long-term recall. They do not want to hurt you. They want to erase you. They come to erode your attention and memory, turning my 7 years into 7 weeks in an instant. How to identify an auditor? You will encounter them mostly in the labyrinth or the exterior service corridors, particularly between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. They possess human shape, sometimes a woman in a Victorian frock, sometimes a man in an outdated maintenance uniform. But there are 3 unmistakable identifiers you must commit to memory. 1. Counterclockwise movement. They always move counter to the general rules of the park. If you are heading east, they will be heading west. If you are standing still, they will circle you in a counterclockwise loop. Their timeline flows in reverse, and they are seeking to sweep you into that spiral. 2. No shadow. The lighting in the labyrinth is harsh, but auditors do not absorb light like normal matter. No matter how strong the light source, they will never cast a shadow. If you see a figure standing beneath a spotlight, and only the rough texture of the concrete behind them is illuminated, stop immediately. 3. The time stutter. When an auditor is near, clocks cease to tick. Not the electronic clocks breaking, but the mechanical sound of a pendulum or the second hand will silence for a brief, sickening stagger, a choke in reality. It feels like a gasp in the air. If you observe any of these signs, you must perform the bribery ritual. #### Rule 2. Always carry a cracked bronze cog. Auditors are not gluttons. They don't want candy or leftovers. They want objects that have failed time. The cracked bronze cog is their only currency. Bronze is the metal of wear and old machinery. Cracked is the proof that the object has endured temporal strain it could not overcome. It is, essentially, a damaged piece of time scrap. You must collect these cogs. They fall off the old, failing mechanisms in the labyrinth. Never pick up a perfect cog. It must be split, warped, or heavily oxidized. Keep at least 3 in your uniform pockets at all times. If you encounter an auditor, the entity is blocking the hallway, or you hear the sound of paper rustling unervingly close to your ear, do not flee. Flight only draws attention. Instead, take out a cracked bronze cog, place it on the floor about 3 paces away from you, and turn your back. Do not look at it again. This is a bribe, an offering. You are telling them, I know where I am, and I am providing you with this proof of temporal decay in exchange for you overlooking me. Most auditors will accept it as a small tax and leave you be. If you have nothing to offer, they won't physically attack, but they will start a conversation. They will ask you about a job you never completed, an employee you never met, or request clarification on a historical event that never occurred. The harder you try to answer, the more cognitive energy you feed them. They will siphon your attention until you forget why you are there, and eventually, you will turn yourself into an echo. Always carry cracked bronze. ### Rule 3. If you are grabbed, slam your head against the wall 3 times. This is the rule that sounds the most insane, but it is paramount to your physical existence. In the Labyrinth of Hours, there are secondary entities. They are not auditors. They are opportunistic predators, excised pieces of time known as the detachers. They sense employees who are on the border of reality and oblivion, those who are tired, underslept, or doubting their shift. If you are walking in a dim corridor and suddenly feel an invisible entity grasping your wrist, lightly tugging at your uniform, or trying to slip into the gap of your chrono tag, you are being pulled out of the timeline. Their goal is to separate your consciousness from your reality anchor, the tag, and your body, instantly turning you into a high-level echo. In that situation, you must not resist or plead. You must not use physical strength, as they are not physical entities. Instead, you must shut your eyes and slam your head violently against the concrete wall 3 times. 3 times. Hard. Quickly. The intense, immediate physical pain acts as a drogue chute, yanking your drifting mind back to the present, tangible moment. Pain is real. Blood is real. The sensation of intense agony is the strongest anchor you possess. It forces your mind to stop paying attention to the subtle, metaphysical tug. The shock will temporarily drive the detacher away and stabilize your perception in physical reality. After the head slam, open your eyes, check your chronotag, and keep walking as if nothing happened. Yes, you will bruise and suffer headaches. I have done it over a dozen times. But bruises heal. Oblivion does not. Do not hesitate. If you feel the pull, injure yourself instantly. It is the cost of holding on to 7 years of memory. Now let us speak of eternal smiles. Rule 4. Never make direct eye contact with the mascots. I am talking about Clockwork Charlie, Gearsy the Mouse, and the entire troop of gleaming brass stuffed animals you see greeting children near the entry area. They are not poor employees in oversized costumes. They are the archivists of time. These mascots are the 5 original park builders who were melted into their mechanical suits during the terrible synchronization incident 15 years ago. They were forcefully converted into the physical guardians of the park's history. Their job is to ensure that every story told about Chronosium follows the approved script. Their eternal smiles are not joy. They are a physical warping of the facial structure. If you look into their eyes, the dark glass optics, you will begin to forget your most vital memories. That might be the name of your spouse, your date of birth, or, most critically to Chronosium, how long you have been here. Forgetting the time spent here is the first step toward becoming a permanent echo, as you have relinquished your strongest weapon, awareness. If a mascot approaches you, bow your head, examine the floor, or pretend to fix your shoe. Never engage eye contact. If they speak to you, respond only with short, approved answers found in the employee handbook. Yes, Sir Charlie. No, Gearsy. The origin of the corruption. Chronosium is built upon a corrupted timeline. This is a truth only survivors like me retain. The park is not a modern construction. It is an anchor. It is holding down a reality that has been severely skewed. The anchoring incident Kaelen refers to involved the original architects sacrificing themselves, becoming those 5 mascots, to lock the park into the current 21st century reality. If that anchoring breaks, Chronosium will drift into another era. We might find ourselves in a Roman-era version of the park, or a distant future riddled with incomprehensible technology. To maintain the anchor, continuous sacrifice is required. This is the task you will learn in basic training, but they will call it high-level maintenance. Every night at midnight, at the central clock tower, a corrupted bronze pendulum must be offered. The corrupted bronze pendulum is not a snack. It is a mechanical mechanism built from composite materials of different eras. It represents the temporal imbalance. The task is to destroy it. Never use hammers, pliers, or modern tools. You must destroy it with your bare hands and your own physical weight. This primal, mechanical violence is the only thing that keeps Chronosium from drifting. Do it quickly, and never let anyone see you. Finally, we speak of leaving. Rule 5. Never attempt to break the time vow and quit before the term is complete. You signed a Chronosium contract. It binds you not only legally to the corporation, but also existentially to the park itself. If you attempt to quit early, out of fear, because your sanity is failing, or because you remember the outside world too clearly, you will not merely be fired. You will not suffer an accident. You will be converted into a high-level echo. High-level echoes are still seen throughout the park. They still wear their uniform. They still perform their daily maintenance tasks. But they are ghosts of time, permanently locked into a shift that never ends. They no longer recognize themselves, or anyone else, not even the auditors. They are the perfect puppets of the Chronosium. They are the most terrible warning. You cannot leave until the park accepts that your term is finished. I have waited 7 years, 9 months, 23 days. Now, only 72 hours remain on my 7-year contract. When the clock strikes midnight on that day, I will be gone. No trace, no look back. I have given you everything I have. Abide by these rules. Do not let yourself grow soft. Do not trust coworkers. Do not look the mascots in the eye, and always carry fractured bronze. Fail, and you will not be able to die. You will not be able to leave, and you will become an immortal, tormented segment of the Chronosium. Keep this survival log, and God help the soul you are about to lose. End of log. Freedom calls. The Survival Chronicle. Listen up, you idiot. Listen close. I don't have much time left to waste on your training, and I know what you're thinking. You think you've been here 3 weeks. You think this is a slightly weird steampunk-themed amusement park, and those ticking noises you hear in the walls are just old ventilation. You are wrong. Completely wrong. My name is Kaelen. I'm the operational floor manager here. Or at least that's the title Chronosium gave me to make me feel important. My real title is prisoner. I have been trapped here for 7 years, and I haven't forgotten a single day of it. This park is not an entertainment venue. It is an entity. It lives, it breathes, and it eats. It feeds on repetition, monotony, and specifically, oblivion. The paycheck you receive, that enormous sum that makes you think this discomfort is worthwhile, that is the bait. It is the most effective memory wipe tool Chronosium possesses. Most employees here are time prisoners, locked in their own loops. They believe they have only been here for weeks or months, even when their chronotags are too worn to read the start date. They forget the outside, their families, and most critically, they forget the true time they have lost. I am one of the rare few who still retains sanity. I count every second. I am the only one here who knows my exact freedom date. I have 72 hours left. You will find me harsh, maybe paranoid. Good. Paranoia is the only thing that has kept me here. I've maintained this survival chronicle for 7 years. Now, I am handing it to you. You can use it. You can tear it up. It doesn't matter to me anymore. I am getting out. And I swear by every gear and spring in this damned place, I'm willing to sacrifice anything, even your safety, to ensure I don't get held back. Start reading. You will spend most of your shift in the Labyrinth of Hours. That is the network of logistical and mechanical tunnels that stretch deep beneath the park, where all the broken clockwork components are funneled for repair. Don't be fooled by its appearance. The labyrinth is not merely a service area. It is an area of warped reality. There, one step can take you further than a mile, and a corridor you just passed through can lead you back to your starting point 3 hours later. This is where the old rules of physics disintegrate, and the truth becomes hazy. If you aren't careful, you will become part of that haze. Rule 1. Always wear your chronotag, the special ID badge. Listen carefully. That cheap plastic card is not just your identification. It is a personal reality anchor. It locks your mind, your body, and your sense of time into the park's current, distorted timeline. It is a seatbelt in a continuous temporal crash. If you drop it, lose it, or, worse, remove it for even 30 seconds while inside the labyrinth, you immediately become an echo. An echo is not a ghost. It is a version of yourself trapped in a brief temporal loop, usually 5 to 10 minutes long. You are still there, but you never arrive. You are perpetually walking down a hallway, reaching down for something you never pick up, or moving an item you never deliver. You will repeat the same purposeless actions, caught in those dusty corridors until you dissolve into mechanical dust. I have seen the best managers, the sharpest engineers, disappear this way. An echo flashes across your peripheral vision, a shadow rushing to a meeting that never starts. Never try to talk to them. They won't hear you. Never try to help them. They will pull you into their loop. Pretend you see nothing, clutch your chronotag, and keep walking. That is the price of forgetting. Now, let's talk about the night shift. Chronosium never closes. But our nighttime clientele is not human. When the clock strikes midnight, the metallic gates do not just close for maintenance. They close to lock the predators in. They are the auditors, the entities for whom we are fixing the park. Auditors consume employee attention and memory. Their presence is why people forget how long they've been here. They are Chronosium's quality control, ensuring your repetition is never broken. How to identify them? 1. They always move counterclockwise. 2. They cast no shadow, even under the brightest light. 3. Their presence causes the clock to stop ticking for a brief instant, an invisible skip in the timeline. If your watch or digital display flickers midnight for a millisecond, you know an auditor is near. To survive the night shift, you must strictly adhere to these 2 bribery rituals. They are the only intermediaries between you and eternal oblivion. Rule 2. Always carry a cracked brass gear as an offering. Auditors don't want sweets or food. They are temporal entities. They want temporal fragments, objects that are flawed by time or reality failure. Cracked, warped gears, or screws stripped during manufacturing contain temporal flaws, a moment that should not exist. When they approach you, toss this gear onto the ground and walk quickly away. They will stop to consume that temporal error, buying you minutes to escape. Never hand it to them. Throw it. Rule 3. If you are in the labyrinth and feel an invisible entity grab your wrist or jacket, attempting to pull you off the corridor, do not resist or plead. If you feel a cold, invisible grip tugging you away from your current path, it means a high-level auditor is trying to shunt your timeline, forcing you into a permanent loop. The natural reaction is to pull away, but do not. Resistance only makes their grip tighter. Instead, you must close your eyes and forcefully slam your head against the wall 3 times. The immediate, intense physical pain temporarily anchors your mind to solid, fleshy reality. It is a reality shock that forces you to exist right here, right now. The entity hates sudden physical stability. 3 slams will repel them. A proper concussion is necessary. If your nose doesn't bleed or you aren't dizzy for a few seconds, you didn't hit hard enough. Then run. This brings us to what I need you to understand most, because your innocence concerning this part will kill you, or worse, make you forget yourself. You've seen them. The cheerful, clockwork, smiling mascots wandering the public areas. Clockwork Charlie, the massive brass rat. Gearsy the mouse, the smaller, waddling one. They are supposed to be emblems of steampunk wonder and joy. Rule 4. Never look directly into the eyes of the mascots. This is the simplest rule, yet the hardest to adhere to when you're rushing. Their permanent smiles are a trap. I will tell you the ugly truth. They are not people in costumes. They are the archivists of time. The first 5 workers of Chronosium, the ones who were here before me, before anyone, were melted, fused into their clockwork suits during a horrifying temporal accident they called the synchronization. When this Chronosium first tried to establish itself, it tore them apart. Now, they are living metal, brass, and dried blood. They are the keepers of the park's history. But their job is not preservation, it is erasure. They seek out employees, trying to assimilate them into their collection of memories. If you look into their static, glassy eyes, you will begin to forget your most critical memory. It is not a gradual fading, it is a sudden, painful deletion. It is usually your own name, or the face of the person you love, or the exact duration of time you've been here, the one thing allowing you to maintain sanity. When that happens, you will remain operational, but you will be perfectly compliant, utterly empty, a perfect tool for the park. Pretend they are heavy blocks of metal, and keep your head averted. Now, let's get to the foundation of this prison. Chronosium was not built on solid ground. It was built on a corrupted timeline. We are not a park in a city. We are a tumor in space-time. It began with a failed experiment centuries ago, not here, but in a place that should never have been. The founders tried to harness temporal energy, but instead created an open wound in cosmology. The timeline we stand on is rotten, unstable, and ravenous for other flows. We fight constantly to keep Chronosium from drifting. What does drifting mean? It means one day you walk into the labyrinth and find the walls covered in Egyptian hieroglyphs, or instead of a gear, you are repairing a 23rd century starship. The entire park can transition abruptly, and you would be melted in the shift. To prevent this chaos, there was the anchoring incident. The original architects, the ones who understood the scale of the horror they had created, performed a horrifying act of sacrifice. They used the entire central clock tower mechanism to lock the park into the current reality, locking it to this year and this flow of time. They didn't just sacrifice labor, they sacrificed themselves. They activated the central clock tower while still inside it. Simply put, the architects were crushed and rendered into the mechanical mortar, their skeletons becoming the reinforced steel, their hearts the main engine. Their very death created the reality anchor, keeping Chronosium from drifting into another era. This is why we are still here, in this disgusting reality. That sacrifice was not a one-time event. It must be maintained. To sustain that anchor and prevent Chronosium from drifting, every night, at exactly midnight, an offering must be made. This is Rule 5. If you fail this, the park dissolves at midnight. A bronze pendulum must be offered at the central clock tower. This item is not a novelty item. Do not confuse it with the souvenir shop decorations. The bronze pendulum is an ancient, rare mechanical component etched with synchronization symbols. It must be retrieved from the holding vault, Vault 7, beneath the labyrinth, taken out only when needed. It must be a pendulum that has never been used, never been marked by the passage of time. It must be utterly pristine. You must carry it to the small room on the top floor of the clock tower. There is a receiving mechanism. You place the pendulum into it, and you will hear a deep clack. That is the sound of the timeline being fixed for another day. If you miss the offering, even by 1 minute, the anchor weakens. The drift will begin. I do not know exactly what it looks like, but the old records say time will begin to run backward within the park, or worse, centuries will overlap. You will find dinosaurs in the steam baths and Romans fixing the wiring. I have done this for 7 years, and I will not be doing it for my final 72 hours. If you are assigned this duty, you must complete it. This is not a rule for personal survival. It is a rule for the existence of the very ground you stand on. This final rule is the most important, explaining why I have had to stay for 7 years, counting every single second. Rule 6. Never attempt to break the time covenant and quit before your term is complete. The Chronosium contract you signed is not just legally binding, it is temporally binding. You signed a document that, physically, agreed to be part of the system. People who try to quit early don't just suffer accidents, such as falling downstairs or slipping into the grinder. No, they are turned into high-level echoes, and that is a punishment worse than death. They are still seen in the park. They continue to work, wearing their uniforms, performing their duties. But they are temporal ghosts, permanently stuck in a shift that never ends. They no longer recognize themselves or anyone else. They are managers who no longer manage, engineers who no longer repair, just shadows completing assigned tasks on a dead day. They cannot die, they cannot leave. They are the most horrifying warning, tortured immortality. I have only 72 hours left on my 7-year contract. I have sacrificed my life, my mind, and my personal safety to ensure I reach that point. When the bell tolls midnight on my final day, I will vanish. I will walk through the gate without looking back, leaving no trace of my presence. I have given you this survival chronicle. You must adhere to every rule. Fail, and you become a permanent part of the Chronosium. Good luck. You'll need it. Hear this, you fool. Right now, you are confused, maybe a little elated. You are thinking, great hours. Unbelievable pay. The salary they promised you was absurd, wasn't it? It is a trap. It is cash sedation, designed to make you ignore the reality that you have been interred. My name is Kaelen. I am the operational floor manager, and I have been stuck inside this Chronosium for 7 years, 3 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days. And I am counting. The Chronosium is not an amusement park. It is a paranormal entity fueled by repetition and forgetfulness. Time here does not flow, it coils. Most of the staff trapped here, the ones who have been working for decades, believe they have only been here for weeks. That is how the park protects itself. The erosion of reality is a tide. It washes away your memories, turning you into a complacent puppet of an endless work cycle. I am a rarity. I have fought it. My sanity is not a gift. It is an obsessive habit. I am harsh, yes. I am paranoid, certainly. But I am alive, and more importantly, I remember. I keep a meticulous journal of the precise passage of time, and that has given me an edge. 7 years was my sentence, signed under the name of a corporate devil, and it is finally coming to an end. I am transmitting this highly classified survival guide to you, the new hire, in the final hours of my contract. Understand this. I do not care about your safety. I am using your presence as a final distraction, a decoy of fresh meat, to ensure that when my contract expires, I am not dragged back in. Learn these rules. If you fail, you do not get time off. You become a component of this machine, eternally tormented in frozen time. The bulk of your work will take place subterranean, in what we call the Labyrinth of Hours. This is a network of logistical tunnels deep beneath the rides where the laws of time are merely suggestive. You might spend 3 hours walking to a single substation, or you might step into a corridor and step out before you entered it. This is where truth blurs, and your mind will begin to drift. Rule 1. Always, without exception, keep your chronotag fastened. Your work ID badge is not just identification. It is your personal reality anchor. It contains a sophisticated synchronization code that locks you to the park's current timeline. While worn, you are existing in this reality. If the tag is lost, damaged, or removed, even for a minute, you instantly become an echo. Echoes are not ghosts. They are physical, stuck entities. They are versions of yourself caught in a short temporal loop. You will see them in dusty corridors. They look like they are moving, but they never reach their destination. They repeat the same purposeless action perpetually, trying to tighten a valve that is already tight, wiping down a wall that is clean, or endlessly searching for a key that doesn't exist. I have seen the best managers, men who understood this system better than anyone, simply unclip the tag to scratch an itch or adjust the lanyard and immediately vanish. The next day, they were shadows flitting in peripheral vision, always reverting back to the hallway corner just before you could speak to them. Remember, the chronotag is your basis for reality. Losing it is losing linear existence. The Chronosium never closes. But the night guests are not people. When the sun sets, or at least, when we assume it sets, the midway and roller coaster tracks are filled by the Auditors. These are entities that exist to erode employee attention and memory. Your distraction is their sustenance. You must learn to identify them. 1. Movement. They always move counterclockwise, against the natural flow of time. 2. Shadows. They never cast a shadow, even under the park's harshest floodlights. 3. Temporal silence. Their presence causes the surrounding environment's clockwork to stop ticking for a brief moment, a stutter in the background noise. To survive the night shift, you must adhere strictly to 2 bribery rituals. Rule 2. You must always carry a cracked brass cog as an offering. Auditors do not want candy, food, or currency. They want fragments of time, objects that have been temporally flawed or reality damaged. The cracked brass cog, plentiful in the labyrinth storage, is a time-damaged item, a fractured moment. If you feel watched or isolated in a hallway, place the cog on the ground and immediately turn your back. Never look at them retrieve it. The subsequent silence is their acceptance. Rule 3. If you are in the labyrinth and feel an invisible entity grab your wrist or jacket, attempting to pull you off the corridor, do not resist or plead. Instead, you must close your eyes and slam your head hard against the nearest wall 3 times. This entity is attempting to pull you into a side timeline where you will be permanently stranded. You cannot fight it logically or physically. Immediate, violent physical pain is the only method to anchor your mind to tangible, material reality. The impact must be hard, enough to stun you. The sheer agony reminds your body that it is matter, and this repels the entity. I know this sounds irrational and savage, but if you hesitate, the subsequent drift is eternal. Let us talk about the cheerful, brightly colored, and most awful things in the park. The mascots. Clockwork Charlie, Gearsy the Mouse, Pendulum Pete. They walk the midways, waving and posing for photos. Do not be fooled by the eternal smiles. Rule 4. Never look the mascots directly in the eye. They are not people in suits. They are archivists of time, keepers of the park's history. 5 original workers were melted into their mechanical suits in a horrific temporal mishap they call the synchronization. The bodies inside rotted away long ago, but the mechanical suits became permanent containers. If you look into their eyes, the cloudy, unblinking glass eyes, they will begin to take. They do not take objects, they take memories. They will steal your most critical recollection, usually your own name, the memory of your family, or the exact amount of time you have been here. Those are the things that impede eternal compliance. I saw one coworker after too long a chat with Gearsy. He still knew how to repair a faulty gear mechanism, but he could not say the name of the city he was born in. Now, concerning the park's origin. The Chronosium is built upon a corrupted timeline. This was not a constructed amusement park. It was a temporal flaw framed in concrete and steel. The terrible anchoring incident Kaelen speaks of is where the architects tried to lock the park into current reality by sacrificing themselves. To maintain that anchor and prevent the Chronosium from drifting into another era, a Roman version or a far-flung, glitching future, a daily offering must be made. Every night at midnight, you will hear the central clock tower emit a whining groan. That is when the park demands its temporal stabilizer, the antique brass pendulum, not an item of food, but an ancient mechanical object stored in the sublevels. If you are assigned the night shift near the tower, ensure the pendulum is supplied. If it is not, the drift begins. I experienced the one time the pendulum was missed. 6 hours of pandemonium when the park signs shifted to ancient Greek and the staff wore Victorian uniforms. We must pay the price for stability. This is the final rule, the most important one. It is why I endured 7 years of constant pain and vigilance. If you remember only one thing, remember this. Rule 5. Never attempt to break the temporal covenant and quit before your term is up. The Chronosium contract does not just bind you legally, it anchors you temporally. You did not sign an employment contract, you signed a time agreement. You have fundamentally agreed to donate a portion of your life, 7 years, 10 years, whatever duration you signed for, in exchange for stable existence within this chaotic perimeter. Those who try to quit early are not merely fired. They do not just suffer an accident on the way out. They are erased from the park's timeline in the cruelest manner. When an employee tries to leave early, they create a massive temporal debt. The park does not easily let its time go. This debt must be paid. The transgressor is hunted by the registrar, an amorphous metaphysical entity, but always physically manifest as an unreadable, scribbled sheaf of paperwork. The registrar is the park's true contract manager. If you attempt to flee, the registrar will not kill you. It will turn you into a high-level echo. They are still seen in the park. You will pass them in the food court or HR office. They work as normal, wearing clean uniforms, still bearing their chronotags. But they are ghosts of time, permanently locked into a never-ending shift. They will smile and nod, but they no longer recognize themselves or anyone else. They are the echoes who retain management rank. They are the most terrible warning. Individuals who tried to reclaim their time but were pulled back in by the park, forced to execute their duties in a loop of forever. Their suffering is invisible but profound. They are stuck in an unfeeling smile, executing procedures without purpose, never reaching the moment they actually leave. 7 years. That is what I owed. I had to be perfect, leaving no temporal footprint for the registrar to cling to. I could not be drifted, chronotag. I could not be eroded, auditor resistance. And I could not be memory wiped, archivist evasion. 7 years of senseless, meticulous, painful compliance, just to buy back my soul. Now, the hour is upon me. I have exactly 72 hours left on my 7-year contract. The Chronosium knows it. It is sensing its impending loss. These are my most dangerous hours. The hallways are shifting. I am starting to see misaligned items. Items I know I fixed. It is its final test, trying to make me error, trying to confuse me about the passage of time. I have planned this disengagement sequence for 2 years. When the clock strikes, exactly midnight on the designated day, I must be at precisely dial number 7 on the west clock tower. That final moment of the contract is a thin physical gateway. If I am there, and if I am free of temporal debt, I will be released. I am handing this survival manifesto to you, the new hire. It is yours. Learn it. Live it. The moment I stop speaking, I will be gone. I will not say goodbye. I will not look back. I will leave no trace. Any attachment could become an anchor for the Chronosium to use to drag me back. Survive, new hire. Follow every rule. If you do not, you will not be allowed to die, you will not be allowed to leave, and you will become an immortal, tormented piece of the Chronosium. Save yourself. As for me, I have earned my freedom. I am gone. The audio recording ends with a sharp burst of static and a deep, resonant clock chime.